Let's bring you a national picture now. South Africa's presidency of the G20, resolutions on the situation in Eastern DRC, and the postponement of the tabling of the national budget. All of these issues top of the agenda at a post-cabinet briefing at Parliament this morning. Minister in the Presidency Khumbudzo Ntshavheni briefing the media on the outcomes of the cabinet meeting held yesterday. Our reporter Latasha Naidu attended that briefing. She joins us now live. Latasha, some of the main issues to come out of that cabinet briefing, and I must say the glaring omission was what's unfolding in KwaZulu-Natal insofar as the floods are concerned.
Good afternoon, Michelle. Yes, we know the importance of these post-cabinet briefings are an opportunity for government to connect with the nation on matters of national importance. And like you mentioned, the G20 presidency, along with a number of other issues affecting South Africans, top of the agenda, but also the minister speaking to topics that are currently in the media spotlights with regard to the hand, foot and mouth disease outbreak in KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the deadline for submissions for applications for the registrations of spaza shops being tomorrow. But here to tell us more about yesterday's cabinet briefing is the woman of the hour, Minister Ntshavheni. You have given us a very detailed outlook of what was discussed by Cabinet yesterday with regard to all those issues facing the government and the country. Now, taking it to what's currently happening in KZN with those devastating floods, I know that you spoke to the issue of the hand, foot and mouth disease that's broken out in the province. But what has Cabinet actually decided with regard to relief efforts, with regard to the situation in KZN?
So the situation in KZN, which is not new, it's an annual thing. Sometimes it happens twice a year. And it's part of why our agenda, if you recall, part of the issues the USA have against us, it's our focus and prioritization of climate change. But we say we bear the brunt of climate change, and you have to ask the people of KZN, of Eastern Cape, of Limpopo, of what is the impact? And Gauteng has not been spared. So we have we've got a disaster management center, national and the provincial disaster management center. So they continue to respond and plan to say what are the interventions. And what is a pity with what's happening in KZN is that some of the ones who are impacted now are the ones who have not yet been completely resettled from the last year floods again. So we need to then have a different discussion. Minister Tlhabisa of Kokta, who's responsible for disaster management response, and Minister Nkadimeng of Human Settlements, Minister Simelane, of Human Settlements, are busy working on a modality of how do we then prevent the areas that we know that they are prone to such kinds of disasters and make a permanent solution to that area. But as we speak, our disaster management response teams are supporting the provincial response teams and the eThekwini municipality response teams to handle that situation. And I'm sure Minister Tlhabisa will then update the nation on what is the progress that is being made in that area.
Another issue of national importance being the tabling of the national budget. We know that there was a postponement, and you said that the 12th of March has been set in stone as the date for the budget to be tabled before Parliament. Now, we also know that come this Monday, the 3rd of March, there's going to be another cabinet briefing in which the inputs to Treasury would be finalised.
So as Cabinet, we have had discussions around the budget since the day of the 19th. And remember, part of the reasons we requested a postponement is to say, let's find each other on what is the best mechanism forward collectively as Cabinet. And the President has initiated a process that allows us to meet. But you remember, because it's the budget process, it's also a technical process. The budget books have to be printed, the numbers have to be crunched and all those. So there's a time frame we are working against so that Treasury can also do its part so that the Minister of Finance can table the budget. Because the responsibility, Cabinet will never table the budget. The Minister of Finance must table the budget. We can make our inputs to a particular point, and then the Minister of Finance will have to take over with his team and work with those proposals, whether it's workable or not workable. So we continue to work this, and so there's no briefing on Monday. We're going to meet on Monday. And why we're telling you the meeting is because we want to avoid the speculations and also the peddling of lies that have been happening to say is because there's divisions, it's because of party. There's no party issue. It's the Cabinet finding each other in the robustness of its own engagement.
Speaking about the peddling of lies, we know that AfriForum and Solidarity have sent a delegation to the US, and the red carpet has been rolled out for them by President Trump's administration. Now, you've spoken to this matter today and that so-called peddling of lies. What is the situation currently with regard to the US actually willing to have engagements with South Africa?
There've never been a door of, and in diplomacy, there's not a door that gets closed to engagement. So we continue to engage our representation within in the US, our ambassadors, and also they've been participating in the G20 sessions, maybe at not the right levels because they had their own processes. They're also setting up an administration. I haven't seen the photo of President Trump and Mr. Krill of, is it AfriForum or Solidarity? So if the red carpet is there, I must see that photo. But we appreciate that the media and the international community are exposing the lies instead of ourselves speaking up, defending ourselves. We appreciate that those lies, and in English they say lies have very short legs, and those lies will have very short legs. And we, as the president announced, there will be a time we'll send the envoys to the various capitals to engage, but we continue to do the work of engagement bilaterally with other countries, like we've indicated our engagements with the EU. Minister Lamula on the sidelines of the foreign minister meetings, he held a lot of bilateral engagements, both with ministers within the continent and also within the international community.
Thank you very much, Minister in the Presidency, Minister Ntshavheni, speaking to some of those salient points, Michelle, that have been highlighted post yesterday's cabinet briefing. Now, she also touched on issues of the G20 presidency and that successful meeting of foreign ministers last week in Johannesburg, as well as the number of working group meetings that are going to be taking place in the country over the next few weeks related to climate change, culture, tourism, safety and security and beyond. Now, we know that these post-cabinet briefings, like I mentioned, are an important tool in connecting government with the nation and also creating a sense of transparency about the work that cabinet is doing and still needs to be done. But those all-important points related to the national budget that's going to be held on the 12th of March, the minister solidifying government's commitment to the budget being tabled and finalized on that date, as well as speaking to the ongoing issues with regard to the US President Trump's administration and what South Africa is doing in an attempt to rebuild the relationship with that country, Michelle.